So the title of the talk tonight is The Easiest Thing. So this whole spiritual venture is to find out what we really are. And it should be pretty easy, right? I mean, we are what we are, and all we have to do is discover what that is. And when we are told that we are already that which we seek, it's even easier yet, right? It should be as easy as rolling out of bed in the morning. And yet it feels difficult. And I'd suggest that one of the reasons that it feels difficult is because um, we have come to believe that it is difficult, that it's only for a few people, that it's dependent on, living in a cave somewhere or going to foreign lands or, discovering, a secret text or a secret mantra um, that, that will find something that is obscure um, and not available to most people. And I'd suggest that one of the reasons that we miss it is because we're looking for the obscure when it is actually hidden in the obvious. And we're looking, 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 and it is that which is looking. So, of course, wherever we look, we won't see it. We also are looking for it out there, right? We have the belief, the sense that it's not here now, couldn't be here, not with all my faults and karma and habits and failures and etc. It must be somewhere else, or I somehow have to improve this person in order to qualify. So we believe that it's not here, must be out there somewhere. We also believe that um, someone else has the key, right? So we're dependent on someone else to unlock the door for us. It's not within our capacity. That's what we've been led to believe. You know. So the question is any of that true? I mean, if there's a belief that it's not here and it's not present already, then anywhere I look for it will take me further away from what it is. If life is happening here and now, any seeking that I do outwardly will take me further away from what it is. So if we're seeking outwardly, that the answer is out there somewhere, I just have to find it and bring it home. Um, if that's the belief, one of the requirements is that we deny its presence already. Can't be here, I'm going to go look for it. And as long as we're looking for it outside of um, what we are, we'll never find it, right? Because out there is not where it is. Okay, so there's a number of common um, beliefs that we have about where we'll find it. And one of the beliefs is that we'll find it in an experience, a mind-blowing, ecstatic experience, hopefully. Um, but we're looking for the experience similar to, some of the stories that we've read about of, great sages who have awakened and they tell their story. And um, well, it's the exciting ones that get into print. The ones that are say, well, I was just walking across the parking lot one day and I looked at a cloud and realized my true nature. That doesn't sell. So we believe somehow that it will require the right intensity of experience that will sort of, propel me into um, awakeness forever after. But all experiences have the characteristic of impermanence, right? Everything that we've ever experienced in life has a shelf life. It has, and the experience lasts for, sometimes a long time, but all experiences will eventually recede. Even spiritual experiences, even really powerful, mind-blowing spiritual experiences will recede eventually into memory. We'll be able to tell the story, um, but that sense of um, recognition of what we truly are, if we believe that it was in the story, if we believe that it was in the experience will fade and it will feel like something that I can recall from memory, but it's not my day-to-day experience. So this is just the belief that the awakeness is in the experience. It's not. The awakeness is what's present for the experience, what notices the experience, right? That's the essential thing. So if it's that which is present for the experience and it's our true nature, then it would need to be present for any experience. It would have to be present at any moment, right? So the experience can be a mind-blowing, ecstatic experience. That's wonderful. But it can also be brushing your teeth in the morning, that one's true nature is also present for that, right? Our attention may be somewhere else. We might be thinking about the day ahead or whatever, but that which we are is aware in that moment as it is in the moment of powerful spiritual experience. So it's important to know that the discovery is not in the storyline. It's not in the actual experience. It's recognizing what is present for that experience. Okay. Another way we can misinterpret what we're looking for is to imagine that it has to do with feeling, right? If I feel really good, if I feel really centered and peaceful and blissful, then I must be making progress, right? It's evidence of getting closer to enlightenment. So if that's the belief, then we can get caught in trying to manage our feelings, trying to arrange things that we can feel good about ourselves. And that's fine, no problems. Um, but if we're seeking what we really are, who is it that's trying to manage that experience? Who is it that's deciding that one experience is preferable to another? And for whose benefit? We can also see that feelings are subject to flux, right? Always changing. So if we're in the business of trying to manage the feelings to have the right sort of spiritually oriented feelings, I mean, even really, really good feelings, then we're still trying to manage our experience. Um, Feeling like the experience itself, the feeling good, is evidence of awakeness. It's not The awakeness is present for any effort we might be making to try to manage our experience. It's always primary to whatever um, we may be doing to enhance the personal self or enhance um, our own personal well-being. Um, we can also look for enlightenment in a philosophical structure, trying to put the concepts together in a way that makes sense to us. Um, but no matter how we arrange those concepts um, so that they make logical sense, if they're not grounded in our own direct experience, then they're still merely um, suppositional. We're just imagining it. We're hoping that it might be true. We don't actually know because it's not our experience, but it can be comforting, right? If we put all the conceptual structure together in such a way that it feels good, it might even be true. Who knows? But if it's not our direct experience, it really doesn't have any um, ultimate power. And why settle for a concept when the possibility of recognizing the reality for ourself is available? We can also believe that having skills in the metaphysical realm um, is also evidence of awakeness. It's not. It's not. Awake people can have those particular skills to be able to, visit other realms, other realities. Um, Unawake people um can sometimes have those same skills as well. It's like, sort of analogous to having perfect pitch. If you're blessed with having perfect pitch, you might be a great piano tuner, but it doesn't automatically make you a great musician. It's just a skill. Some people are more inclined that way than others, but it's not. Um, it may be coincident with awakeness, but it's not. It doesn't. It's not a prerequisite for it, and it's not an evidence for it. It's a skill. Um, there's also a, uh, a lot of talk in spirituality about earning merit, right? Accumulating merit through our deeds, through our actions, through our thoughts. And this is fine. It's certainly wonderful that people are trying to do meritorious deeds. That's wonderful. But when we're looking for what we truly are, um, who is accumulating merit? Is it the separate self that's accumulating merit? And why is it necessary to accumulate merit to be what we already are? I mean, are we born somehow in deficit and we have to sort of earn our way up to zero to qualify to be, a um, fully alive being? Is that is that what's necessary? I mean, until we've earned enough merit, are we not somehow uh, a full participant in this reality? Or are we somehow less than being that is at home in this reality? How much merit is required to earn our right to recognize what we truly are? So we can see that it's this concept of merit gets into a denial of the possibility of being that which we already are, recognizing that as being present as is. We can also have the belief that the path to enlightenment is, through the good graces and energetic transmission from a teacher or guru. And um, it's possible. I mean, some people have the ability to transmit energy, Shakti. You can see it on late night TVs, and some gurus have that ability, to actually transmit energy. It feels really good. Um, but we can also see that energy is still in the world of form. We're still working in the world of form. Einstein told us 100 years ago that matter and energy were interchangeable. So energy is a form of matter. There's not a clear distinction between the two. We find out now that even what appears to be solid is actually very much in flux between um, an energetic probability and a particle, and vast spaces in between. So there's this uh, uh, belief that somehow energy is um, a higher state than matter. It's actually a form of matter. And when we're working with energetic phenomena in the body, it can feel really, really good. Um, and there might be insights possible. There might be a beautiful experience. But unless it's grounded in um, what we know to be true ultimately about who we are, it won't last. If it did, it'd be wonderful. If someone could just bestow enlightenment on another person, I mean, there'd be lines outside their door. But um, that doesn't that doesn't happen. Um, and we there are other things besides um, spiritual transmission that can cause us to feel, really the body to feel really good. I mean, there are, you know, drugs and rituals and music and things to make the body feel, really happy. So all of that is fine. But when we're talking about looking for what we really truly are, we have to look at what is most fundamental. And energy and form are not the most fundamental thing, because that is always within the purview of forms. Um, so we can, um, what are we left with there? If it's not in experience, it's not in feeling, it's not in metaphysics, it's not in philosophy, doesn't have to do with earning merit. It's not about a concept. Where do we go? Uh, this um, thing that we're calling enlightenment as the easiest thing, and we've eliminated all these possibilities for getting there. I mean, what's left? It's a valid question. And I'd suggest what's left is allowing everything to be as it is. Just allowing everything to settle. We've been efforting, seeking, and it might be time just to take that whole jar of muddy water that we've been shaking and shaking and just set it down and let it settle. And see what is present when we're not trying to make something else happen, when we're not trying to achieve awakening, when we're not trying to get to a higher state, when we're not trying to have the right experience or the right thought, if we can just stop, not try to stop, but just cease seeking. So we can hear that, and it may even sound conceptually acceptable, but it's the mind just goes, nah, it couldn't be that easy. If I don't seek, how will I ever get anywhere? Right? So we go on seeking. But as we said before, all seeking takes us away from that which is already present. What's already present here and now in this moment and in every moment is where life is lived. So anything that takes us away from that is going in the wrong direction. And if we go in any direction, north, south, east, west, any direction we take away from that quiet center will be wrong. Not wrong, but just detour. So we can suggest that what is truly alive is um, this awareness. That's what's actually living this life. That's where this life is um, the interface between awareness and any and every appearance within awareness. Just that interface. And we can hear that, and somehow the mind immediately um, goes to, well, what is that awareness aware of? What is that? And it's just a movement to look for something um, particular, something particular in a big, vast, complex world of creation, right? Where is it? Where is it? It- the reason that we can't find it that way is because it is what's looking, and what's looking is the whole thing. There's nothing outside of that awareness. Everything that we've ever experienced has only ever been experienced within awareness. So when our mind tries to get a hold of that, it tries to look at, it tries to somehow get outside of awareness to get a good look at it so it can see what it is. But there's nothing outside of awareness. We've never experienced anything that's been outside our awareness. So any attempt to get outside to get a good look at awareness can only be conceptual, right? What we can notice is that the awareness itself is already present. That's what we can do. But we tend to dismiss that. It's not that we don't, um, that the awareness is absent in any way. It's not that we um, uh, aren't present in that purity of awareness often during the day, but we immediately dismiss it as being significant. And the mind is really good at that. It has a evolutionary benefit in doing that. If it sees something that it decides is not significant for either my pleasure or my survival, the mind just dismisses it. It's similar to driving down the highway, and there are telephone poles along the road. So we see hundreds of them, right? But they never rise to the level of our conscious attention. Why? Because they're so common, they're not that significant, they don't really mean anything to us, they don't improve my life, they don't threaten me. And so our mind just tunes them out. It's not that our eyes don't receive the image of them, it's our mind just dismisses it, not important. Right? And then the mind does exactly the same thing with awareness. It's not that it doesn't notice those periods of momentary no thought, but it just disregards them, not interesting. Show me the next thing. Mhm. So, so awareness isn't a thing that we can look at. It's actually not in the same class as everything else. Everything else um, has some form. Mm. These bodies do, the mountains do, the earth does, a tree does. Everything has a form except awareness. Awareness doesn't, right? I mean, there was the exercise that we did earlier that unless we revert to memory or thought, um, that awareness uh, isn't limited by form. So this in spirituality, they talk a lot about becoming more aware. As if the issue was with awareness. Like I need to improve this awareness. I want to become more aware. But the problem isn't actually with awareness at all. Awareness is just fine. The awareness of Buddha and your awareness, no difference. Right? There's there may be a difference in um, how we uh, view that awareness, how we, um, what degree of respect that we have for it, how much um, we are willing to live from that awareness, how much in awe we are of that awareness. That may be different. The awareness itself, same, same. It doesn't improve over time. It is what it is. That's the solidity of it. It's the um, ground of being. It is always that which it is, solid in that sense. Whereas things, always they're changing, they're impermanent. Mhm. So when we go looking for this awareness, we can't we can't find it because we're using a mental image to sort of scan and find something particular when all the while the awareness is taking in the entire show, the effort to find awareness and all the concepts that we may engage to try to make sense of it. In the meantime, the awareness is fully functional, but that awareness isn't a thing. It is absent of attributes except this alive spaciousness. Um, so we can't look at it like we would look at a thing. So when we go looking within ourselves, one of the surprising things is, I'm sure the real me is in there somewhere. I've just got to buckle down and find it. And then we realize it's surprisingly hard to find. And then we realize, hopefully, that there is no individual separate self, higher self, residing as in a separate me. Just this awareness that's absent of form. But it's not what we expected to find. So every time we look and we can't find anything, we look within and we can't find anything, we think we did it wrong. But it's actually the right answer. We get it right the first time. We look within, can't find a thing. Perfect. Bingo. But we immediately go to, well, that can't be right. Can't be that easy. It's surprising. It's not what we expect, but it is what we find. We just dismiss what we find in preference for what we think should be there, an improved version of me. It's not. So it's important to trust what we actually experience rather than what we think we should be experiencing. When people awaken, nobody has ever said, yeah, that's pretty much what I thought it was going to be. Nobody ever says that. It's a complete surprise because um, we've been looking, and we find out that it is what has been looking the whole time. It is what is seeking, and we're seeking something outside of ourselves. Anyway, quite humorous. So it's this absence that we find within ourselves, this awareness, which is limitless. It's without attributes except for this um, alive um, knowingness, I guess you could say, not knowing, you know, particular subjects, but just a cognizant of what is happening. So that absence is what is able to uh, receive the entirety of creation within one's awareness. Right? So it's only an absence that could receive the entirety of creation without um, without uh, limitation in any way. Without judgment of it, without um, really without preferences. Clearly, the mind has preferences. The awareness doesn't. The awareness is present for whatever will be happening. And I think sometimes when we're you know, fairly far along into spirituality, we can still view this awareness as sort of separate from us. Like it's a place that I can go. If I get bummed out, I can go to awareness and get peaceful and put myself back together and be willing to go back out into the fray. So it's sort of like this sideshow. It's not the main event. It's something that I can use to sort of prop me up when I need to. But I'd suggest it's um, vastly more than that. It is actually what is living this life. It's already what's living this life. That awareness is already what is living this life. We take credit as a separate person for it, but the actuality is that it is awareness itself that is what registers whatever happens. And that just that interface between awareness and the appearance on that screen of awareness is where we live our entire life. And the awareness is the primary element. Without the awareness, the world may or may not exist, but there would be no one to be aware of it. So the awareness is actually the primary essential fact of our beingness. and the one that's most easily overlooked. Amazing, isn't it? Um, So we can learn, as surprising as it is when we first encounter it, we can actually learn to be um, quite comfortable with it, not being a separate, um, independent self apart from the rest of existence. It's not like, um, there's on a pie chart, there's one little tiny sliver that's me, and then there's everything else. That's, that's generally how we imagine our being in the world. But what we're talking about here is a recognition of what we are already as being inseparable, not other than uh, the entirety of existence, um, appearing on the screen of awareness. It's actually quite miraculous that out of apparent nothingness, the infinite probability that nothing would ever exist, somehow out of that, um, there is this uh, awareness, this aliveness that has the capacity to receive um, the wonder of creation. Absolutely astonishing. Um, So what can first appear as sort of a curious philosophical um, exercise to recognize this awareness as a conceptual possibility, and then recognize the reality of it, and then recognize the singular uniqueness of it, and then further recognize the power of it, the wisdom of it, the life source that flows through as awareness. It may take some time to fully grasp the true significance of it. So when we first look inside, we're looking for the thinker of our thoughts, right? And we can't find. We can find thoughts, we can find thinking, but we can't actually find um, a little being in there somewhere that's the thinker. We intuit that there must be a thinker in there somewhere, but there's not. What we find instead is awareness, surprisingly. No thinker, no doer, but there is awareness. And that awareness is what is living this life. It is what we are. It is already fully what all of us are. So this isn't a self-improvement project. It's just getting really, really simple to see what's actually happening and to respect your own direct experience. It is simple, um, not necessarily easy, but it is simple. The only reason it's not easy is because the mind likes complexity. The mind um, likes to make it much more complicated than it actually is. There's actually, literally, nothing to understand. It's just the direct recognition of what we already are, which isn't and won't ever be understood. Remains a mystery. We can live from it. We can live as it. We just will not ever understand what it is. I mean, that's actually the joy of it. It's the freedom of it. So when that awareness um, sort of self-reflects, you could say, um, it, it only um, senses its own aliveness, its own luminosity, you could say, its own knowingness. When it looks outward, it encompasses everything. So this is the basis for Nisargadatta saying that when I look within, um, I am nothing. When I look without, I am everything. That everything appears within that awareness, and yet that awareness is empty of form. It would have to be to encompass the entirety of form, right? The only thing that could do that couldn't be another form. Any form would be limited. So the only thing that could do that would be formless, right? But when this awareness um, looks for its own origin, it doesn't see anything. I remember one time I was swimming in the Turks and Caicos Islands, and it has incredibly clear water. Um, and the water was probably 100 feet deep, swimming on the surface. You could see every fish, every coral on the bottom. And then you'd swim, I swam a couple hundred yards further out offshore, and the depth just dropped off very, even within a few hundred yards, dropped off to 4,000 feet. And as you swam out over that ledge, the water depth went from 100 feet to deep. And the water was still clear, still incredibly clear, and the sunlight filtered down for a long way. But it just um, ended in darkness. Not a dead darkness, just an alive depth, right? Um, so when awareness looks for its origin, there's a sense of that. The Sufis call it the dazzling dark. Out of nothingness, this awareness amazingly arises. So coming back from our normal state of mind, conceptually, the farthest we can go back is the the felt sense of I am. Right? That's sort of the frontier of where we can get to conceptually. It's as succinct as we can describe our beingness. I am. And then awareness is beyond that. Awareness is what is cognizant of the sense of I am.